What's up everyone? Today I'm super hyped and beyond thankful to Square Enix for the game I'm about to talk about. People have been waiting forever for a Final Fantasy VII Remake. For a lot of us it was either our first JRPG or our first Final Fantasy. So after absolute bangers like Dirge of Cerberus, Crisis Core and Advent Children, it was insane seeing how those stories made the original even better. Like, it was so obvious they were planning to expand the whole thing this way. Naturally, the hype for the remake was through the roof, and honestly, this remake is the best thing to ever happen to Final Fantasy VII. Let's be real though, the OG characters in FF7 were kinda one-dimensional. Like Cloud, total edgy emo kid, always mopping around with his head down, or Aerith, who was just your typical sweet anime girl with a little bit of attitude. And don't get me started on Cloud and Tifa's whole deal, it was literally just Tifa simping for Cloud the entire time. But wait, there's more, they didn't stop there. Even the throwaway characters got a major glow up. Take Jessie for example, she went from being just another random member of Avalanche to the Queen of Cloud Sims. Zero self-respect and all. She's not just background noise anymore. Now, she's the girl ready to crawl on her knees for Cloud's attention. Like, remember that scene where she invites him to her place because nobody's home, and when Cloud says no in his moody, broody way, she's practically begging him to show up. The desperation in her voice, the way she's about to drop to her knees while Cloud is almost about to cry, iconic. Easily one of my favorite scenes. In which they turn him into the lovable goofball of the group. Plus he rescues kittens now, what's not to love? And Biggs is there too, I guess. And don't even get me started on how much they expanded Midgar. Like, the city feels huge now. Bigger, flashier and stuffed with extra content. There's this totally badass motorcycle chase where they introduce a new first class soldier guy. Can't remember his name, and honestly, who cares? Dude's just there to duel Cloud and look cool, and he absolutely nails it. Then there's Tifa's buddy, who pops up now and then to stir things up with his goofy antics or hand you pointless side quests. But hey, those pointless side quests are more content, so I'm not complaining. And the Sector 7 slums? Bigger and more alive than ever. Sure, there's not a ton to do outside of what you could already do in the original, plus a couple of meh minigames. But if you analyze only the zones map, it's bigger and looks full of life, so I'm all in. Us fans are totally stoked with everything this remake brought to the table. Who doesn't love when a game gives us way more than we ever asked for? With Midgar bigger and flashier than ever, there's no shortage of side quests that make us feel alive with pure excitement. And by side quests, of course, I mean those classy top-tier JRPG staples where you're sent to chase down lost cats, deliver random packages, or track down some NPC nobody cares about. Because obviously, what we all wanted was to take a break from the no-sense twists and turns of the main plot for some totally brainless fetch quests. The best part? There's never a shortage of filler content. It's honestly mind-blowing how they expanded every tiny moment from the original, stretching it to epic proportions. Like that time we spent 3 hours wandering around Sector 7 doing completely irrelevant errands that add absolutely nothing to the story. But hey, they are mandatory, because let's be real, how could anyone follow the plot of such a deep and intricate story without the crucial part where you have to save Johnny's butt because he's about to get beat up? More is always better. I seriously don't understand why people complain about filler. At the end of the day, it just means more content for the player. Who cares if it doesn't have any narrative purpose or isn't even remotely interesting? What really matters is that you drop a boatload of cash on this masterpiece, and they make sure you feel like every single penny was well spent. Speaking of characters, don't worry, your faves are still here. Also, remember when the original game gave us Tifa as this strong, complex character with real depth? Well, they have fixed that problem for us in the remake. Now she's just simp number 2 for Cloud, right after Jessie, but still ahead of Aerith.
Gotta keep the sim hierarchy intact, right?
But let's not forget all the amazing things the remake gifted us that the original definitely needed.
This is where the remake truly shines.
Who doesn't love when they throw in characters and scenarios that were never in the original just to stretch what used to be a 6-hour section of a 1997 JRPG? For example, there's that sewer section with Tifa and Aerith where, instead of moving on with the main plot, you get to stop everything and do bulk puzzles and water level controls. Not once, not twice, but 3 times before you can leave the sewers. Stuff like this gloriously expands events that in the original game lasted literally 3 screens. Honestly, I can't imagine going back to the PS1 version now, knowing that in the part where you're escorting Aerith to World Market, there aren't giant machines you have to mess with to get there before Christmas rolls around.
Thank you once again, Square Enix.
Then there's the tone of the adventure, because if there's one thing we wanted in a Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was for everything to feel like your typical seasonal shonen anime with power of friendship vibes, where even serious moments don't really matter. I couldn't help but jump for joy seeing that the dark, gritty, yet hopeful tone of the original got swapped for carefree anime antics packed with waifus, fanservice, and characters reduced to one-note caricatures. Now you will go from a tense moment straight into exaggerated reactions and dialogue that feels ripped right out of Kingdom Hearts.
Clearly, an artistic upgrade.
Why would we want tension or the weight of an event with serious consequences for the characters to actually matter? That would only distract me from the incredible scenes where Aerith gets jealous of Cloud or behaves like a bratty teenager. Or that super necessary moment where Aerith and Tifa hold Cloud's arms and he groans like,
Female contact is so gross. Let me wallow in my yanks instead.
And speaking of improvements, I've gotta hand it to them. I really appreciate the linearity of the gameplay. Who needs freedom or exploration when the game can just hold your hand every step of the way? Sure, the Midgar section in the original Final Fantasy VII was already pretty linear, but it was so annoying that you could actually wander around sometimes. Like, the game would let you go wherever you want instead of sticking strictly to the story path.
Pretty frustrating if you ask.
Thankfully, Square Enix fixed that in the remake by making exploration so much easier to manage. They designed beautifully enclosed corridors in every expanded zone from the original, so you never have to deal with that pesky open world nonsense. Better yet, to make sure you don't get lost, they have completely limited your movements. Anytime you want to go somewhere you're not supposed to,
whether it's to explore a cool looking area or take a slight detour,
the game just flat out blocks you. Or my favorite feature, lock the camera so you can't even look in another direction. Fewer decisions, less freedom, and more time walking straight down a line without distractions. What a relief. Now let's talk combat. I'll admit it, it's awesome. Thankfully, Square Enix ditched that outdated turn-based nonsense and gave us action combat the way it should be.
Because remember folks, turn-based JRPGs are dead and don't sell anymore.
For this new system, they took the wise decision of taking a little bit more of inspiration from Star Ocean: The Last Hope,
a 2009 game, by the way,
and basically slap a Final Fantasy skin on it.
I mean, this isn't just some random diff, it's basically the exact same system.
But hey, credit where it's due. They brought over all the good stuff, like combo-based moves, a menu that pauses time so you can pick spells or items, the ability to switch characters whenever you want, and special abilities to make each character shine, and ultimate attacks with passive effects that give you a boost. Plus parrying, you can dodge or counter enemies perfectly if you time it right. They absolutely revolutionized JRPG combat,
and all they had to do was recycling a system their partners at Tri-Ace developed over a decade ago.
Truly a testament to the creativity and originality of modern Square Enix. And for those who don't like the remake, stop crying already. The original Final Fantasy VII will always be there. It's not like the remake is going to become the predominant version in the collective imagination. especially for newer generations, making the relevance and importance of the original fade away. It's not like the remake is being framed as the definitive version, and anyone playing the original in the future will approach it through the lens of what the remake portrays, and also probably just see the PS1 Final Fantasy VII as outdated, completely ignoring the fact that it's actually a more cohesive story with way more heart and soul.